people take things the wrong way, and people have triggers and people have sensitivities. So it is a two-way street. So if someone is impacting your mental health, it's also helpful to think about, wait a minute, how much of this is my stuff and how much of this is them? Because when people activate things in us, it's not usually 100% them. Some of it's our stuff to a degree.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. All right, Be It Babe. This interview today is one of my dear, lovely women in my life. I'm so grateful that I got to meet her. I'm so grateful I reached out to meet her. Like, please, you guys, reach out to people who inspire you and tell them. Like, and we have an amazing story about that in this episode, actually. But that is how I met Mel, is because I heard her in another podcast. Was like, I want you on mine. She said yes, and then we met in person. And while you'll hear that physically, sparkles and glitter didn't come farting out of us, I felt them. So today I have a guest back. She's been on the show before, and she's an incredible author. And we'll talk about her book. Yes, you can talk about mental health at work and why you should. And we also talk a little about how you can talk about it at work. And then what I'm excited for you to hear is also like two women sharing what it's like to grow in their business. And I know a lot of you are small business owners wanting to start new things, maybe working with other people. And I think it's so important that everything is a work in progress. Everything takes a little time. A lot of people are doing things scared and doing the best they can. And I hope that this really helps you see that you can do that too. And you can be it till you see it. And it's not about being perfect. It's about learning. So here is Mel Doman. All right, Be It Babe. This is going to be an awesome, wild interview. I'm just going to say it right now. We're going to have the best time. Mel Doman is here. She's back. And she and I finally got to meet in real life. And it was a lunch that could have kept going. In fact, I would definitely remember being late for my next call. So at any rate, we are so excited to have you back, Mel. Just in case anyone missed your first interview, can you tell everyone who you are and what you rock at?
Oh, I have been so looking forward to this. And when we got to meet up in person, I'm shocked that we didn't fart sparkles or something like that, because it was like a clashing of two galaxies. So I am Melissa Doman. I'm an organizational psychologist, former clinical mental health therapist, and author of Yes, You Can Talk About Mental Health at Work, Here's Why, and How to Do It Really Well. So I teach businesses, leaders, and individuals how to have realistic and constructive conversations about mental health, team dynamics, and communication in the workplace. My clients range from really large organizations like Estee Lauder, Dow Jones, Google, to mid-sized organizations like Orlando City Soccer Club, to small mom and pop companies, and everything in between. And I do stuff virtually, in person, keynotes, facilitation, fireside interviews, strategic advising. And on a personal note, I do a very impressive Chewbacca impression. Okay. I do.
Brad is going to be upset if I don't ask you to do it, though. It'll
be your reward at the end.
I love it. Perfect. You guys got to stay at the end. Stay till the end. Okay. So we happen to be talking about one of the things that you focus on all year long during the month of May, which apparently is Mental Health Month. I did not know this because I don't live by the calendars of today is Dog Mom Day. I don't do, although people are going to laugh because every Thursday we do use the calendar and go, okay, today is change your password day. We do that on Thursdays, guys, but I don't actually look at the months. And what I love about you is that you're not about companies only focusing on mental health in May. You're about them focusing on it all the time.
Correct. Correct.
And since we last had you on, do you feel that companies are more open to talking about mental health, or do you feel it's the same as before and you're still do you feel like you made a dent, or you know what I mean? Where are we at in society?
Oh, yes. So I actually think it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. And here's why. It's entirely company dependent, industry industry dependent, and in some cases team dependent, because you might have a company that's super open about talking about mental health, but then you have some butthead leaders who are like, I'm not taking part in that shit. So there are some companies that really took the pandemic as a serious kick in the butt to enable these conversations in a more sustainable way for a whole host of reasons. There are other companies that are like, well, we're in endemic status now, so we can stop checkboxing and go back to what we were doing before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit of both. I think it really depends very much on the ecosystem in which people work. However, on a very public plateau and, looking outwardly, seeing all the messaging that's coming out, oh my God, it's everywhere. It has come so far in the past, 6 years since I started subspecializing in this. It's unbelievable. I even saw, and I'm very conscious I'm on a well-being focused podcast, so please forgive me for the example I'm about to give. Okay. McDonald's put out an ad that for Mental Health Awareness Month, they're taking the smiley face off of the Happy Meal because kids have a whole range of emotions and you don't want to tell them how they're feeling. And I was like, oh my God, I never would have imagined seeing something like that. Yes, it's aimed at children, but you never would have seen something like that 10 years ago. Never.
I'm shocked.
The Happy Meal.
Yeah, it's called the Happy Meal.
They took the smiley face off the box for the month of May.
Wow.
And I sat there and I was like, oh my God, this is unreal. And so you're seeing it way more in the public sphere, which is great. Some places it's performative, absolutely. But long story short, I think it really depends on who you're talking to and where you're looking.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy to hear it's a little bit of column A. That's great. And I also think,
yes,
I think
I'm making sure of it.
Yeah, I know you have it. And I also think I like the honesty there that sometimes it is the people. And I think that, it could be person dependent and it can, that person can have such an effect on your ecosystem, your sphere of like where you're at. So you could be working for the company that has all the things and people, I don't know what they're called, people services, HR is like doing all this work to making sure everything is there. And then like, there's one person that's in front of you. And I feel like I might have talked about this a little bit on our first podcast episode together, but for the people listening who are working in a space where they feel like there's a person who's kind of affecting them being able to talk about mental health at work, do you have advice for them? Because I do think that's a be it till you see it kind of thing. You can't just like walk in and go like, here, vomit up all of the stuff that's going on with your mental health, but also like you also want to feel like you have the confidence and capabilities to share what you're feeling.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, there's two different questions in there because one is, effectively talking about your mental health at work. The other one is letting someone else know when they're affecting your mental health at work.
I don't think I've ever been able, thank God I work in corporate, I work for myself because I don't know that I would be able to do the second one. Like tell the person you're affecting my mental health.
I might have done exactly that at a job I had. Would you like to hear the tale?
Yeah, let's do it. We like stories here.
Oh, yes. So a boss I had before I went out on my own, and I was doing a temporary cover position for someone who's out on leave for a while. And that person who I was covering for was amazing, very good at their job. I was also good at that job. And I did it just a little bit differently and people received it differently in a positive way. So that person's boss looked at me very much as a placeholder to make sure to, feel that I was not welcome, we'll say, and kind of resented the fact that I did very well and went out of their way to, sabotage me and just make sure that they told me and that I wasn't welcome in this place, despite the success I was having. And it got really bad to the point where this person would, sabotage actively, like workshops I was doing, trying to trip me up, stuff like that. And one day I just had enough. And I kept trying to win this person over with kindness. That didn't work. And so they saw my face after one of the sessions and I'm the woman of 1,000 faces. So they said, are you okay? I said, nope. They said, do you need to talk? I said, that would be great. And so we go into a private room, and I said, you negatively affect my mental health at and outside of work. To which they said, well, what's your proof? That was their response. I was like, oh my God. And I said, me telling you is the proof. It is the proof. I understand that you don't want me here. I understand that my contract is temporary. That doesn't mean you get an excuse to treat me poorly, sabotage me, make me feel unwelcome. You don't need to like love on me like you do with the rest of your team, but you need to treat me with respect. And for the remainder of my contract here, I am not going to put up with this anymore. And shame on you. This was the head of HR, by the way. I said, shame on you for being in a people-focused role and doing this to me. And she was floored. She was like, well, just like they all do.
Yeah.
Now, listen, folks, I am more direct than most.
Yeah.
And I realized that it was a temporary contract, and I was like, consequences be damned.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to address people who are negatively affecting your mental health at work, or dare I say being a bully, is a risk to addressing that. Absolutely. Absolutely, there's a risk. Do I recommend doing it like balls to the wall like I did? Probably not. That came from a place of desperation. But if someone is negatively impacting your mental health at work, and I know this is much tougher if it's a boss versus a colleague. Mm-hmm. So let's do an easier example, a colleague. You may not want to be so on the nose, but let's say this person is like stressing you out, not communicating in an effective way, not getting stuff done, whatever the reason is. It might be something that sounds like, I feel it's really important for our working relationship for me to tell you the impact that you've been having on me at work and also how I work. I've been trying to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's often met with X, Y, Z. I want us to have a good functional relationship, but I experience you as making that very difficult for me. And I know this is a hard conversation, but I want to have it so we can try and work this out. Are you open to this feedback? Because we can't continue this way. Now, again, that's very, very direct. And a lot of people, they don't like direct feedback, even when you use radical candor, when you're, giving feedback with care. And so the alternative is saying nothing, letting that person continue to do what they're doing without consequence. And then your mental health goes into a ditch. Yeah. So it really needs to be addressed. I'm a big fan of making sure people know that intention and impact are not the same thing.
Okay, well, I want to touch on that. And I also want to say, like, while it can be direct, I actually thought that your example was quite specific. And you guys, if you go to the show notes, you can just take that little transcript part and insert A, B, C, D as what they are and X, Y, Z as what they are. Because here's why I think that it can be very helpful. If you too often, instead of being direct, we do the opposite of like, you make me like feel like this, and it's been, for a while. And if you're not specific about what the feeling is and when it happened, people are less likely to take you seriously or to take it seriously. And
to ask for a different solution.
Yeah.
So come to the table asking for a solution.
Yeah. So I think like if you are someone who needs this, like take that little sentence there. It's not a little, it's a big sentence. And just like try to fill in the blanks there and then use your own words. But I do know that specificity actually makes people at least listen to the conversation, whether or not they choose to react to it or play along. And then if it is a colleague versus a boss, then when you go to your boss, you can say, this is what I said, which has all the specific moments of how you felt or how you're made to feel. And then the instances that happen, and your boss can also take that seriously and understand exactly when the things happen. And I think that's really, really important.
Well, also coming to the table saying, these things are making me unhappy, but I want to invite a conversation to try to work this out. Or there could be in some cases that people have no idea that they're impacting that way. There are some people who are really dense and they're like, oh my God, I had no idea. And then there's other people who will not even consider the feedback and be like, thanks for stopping by. But it doesn't mean that, just because it's a hard conversation doesn't mean it's a worthy one.
Do you remember,
And,
I just have to like side note, did you hear about the women who found out that they were all dating Huberman at the same time and they all approached him and his
dating who?
Huberman, the podcaster, the health podcaster, the Stanford the Stanford scientist, whatever, researcher.
So what is this?
Okay. Go down the rabbit hole. I promise you it's everything. So, he's living with one woman and going through fertility with her, treatments with her. And then there was other women. And look, it sounds like maybe no one had actually had a conversation that they were in an actual monogamous relationship. So, but they never came forward with their names. They actually came forward as a group to him and just said, hey, we found out we're all dating you. Like, this thing. And his response was, thank you for your feedback.
That makes me so sad. I love listening to him.
I know, hon. I'm so sorry.
Oh no.
I know. I'm so sorry.
When did this happen?
Early. So you guys, this is May. So I think I want to say February, March it came out.
Oh my God.
But he hasn't responded at all. He's doing the not response. He's doing the no response. So in your example, he's just someone who's no, just going to keep going with life as if he never. It's actually a very interesting observation of people.
That makes me feel so icky. I'm so sad to hear that.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry because he had really good information.
It's the truth.
Yeah, but
it's the truth.
And then we have to just decide, are we listening for the information or do we care about the person? But anyways, I'll off the tangent. I want to. Brad's gonna be rolling his eyes.
I can't wait to look this up.
I know. Go
God.
through. It's a worthy read. So you mentioned intention and impact are different things. Can we expand upon that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that old crappy adage? It's the road to hell is paved with good intentions, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I say that as an atheist who doesn't believe in that stuff. But so the thing is that intention versus impact is really different. And if I want to, keep it light for a minute, for anybody who's in a committed relationship of any type, I call those the greatest hits fights. It wasn't what you said, it's how you said it. And this is how it landed, whatever.
Yes.
So and yes, people take things the wrong way and people have triggers and people have sensitivities. So it is a two-way street. So if someone is impacting your mental health, it's also helpful to think about, wait a minute, how much of this is my stuff and how much of this is them? Because when people activate things in us, it's not usually 100% them. Some of it's our stuff to a degree. And so before having that conversation, I think you got to talk to yourself and be like, what is it I didn't like about this? Why don't I like it? Is it really them? Do I have some stuff I need to look at? What's the most effective way to approach this? Because oftentimes people will go to somebody who is stressing them out or whatever. And they're you're stressing me out, from ABC, you have to stop. And then, but that's it. There's no, here's why I'm bringing this up. Here's what I would like instead. It needs to be more, how do we change this trajectory? As opposed to, let me give you a laundry list of reasons why you piss me off and you make me mentally sick. So that's not really a helpful way to encourage dialogue.
Yeah, because also then you're asking the person who is pissing you off or stressing you out to then come up with another way on their own.
They don't know.
They would just be guessing. So which means they probably will do nothing because you just get stuck. There's two. Yeah, if you tell me,
or it's awkward. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're going to talk about your mental health, and this will go into the other question that you had, if you're going to talk about your mental health, whether it's someone who is disrupting it or you're just struggling in general, no offense to folks who believe in clairvoyance, mind readers, mediums, people generally can't read your mind. So if you're going to be talking about your mental health, you have to tell people what's going on for you, what you want them to do with that information. Because if that's a very complex conversation, you don't want to overcomplicate it if you don't have to. And so most of the onus when it comes to mental health conversations, especially at work, is on the listener. It's on the supporter. But I think if you're going to go into that conversation, the sharer has some responsibility to do a little bit of back end prep first about the outcome that they're going for.
Yeah. I think that's very fair and very wise. And also it allows, one of the reasons I love doing this show and Be Until You See It is like acting as if you're the person you want to be. It requires us to be reflective of things and not just go and do the same thing over and over again, expecting it to be a different result. Like you have to act differently and you have to do things differently. And what you're asking is like, if something's bothering you, it's like, be reflective. Like, why is that bothering me? What is this bringing up? How is it making me feel? And what do I want instead?
Yes.
And, and so, cause then if you can figure out what you want instead, people actually do want, like they do want you to feel good, because if you feel good at work, then everyone's going to feel better than if you aren't.
I wish that was true for every person. There are just some there's some assholes.
Yeah, that's true.
At work. Oh, do you want to hear something? And listen, I agree with you. Generally speaking, people have some shred of empathy. I will never forget that someone said to me that their boss told them, and I quote, "Unless someone is dying, I don't want to hear about your mental health." Verbatim.
So strange. Like it's so strange to me that people don't, I also, here's the thing, like as a small business owner who tries very, very hard to be open to my team's needing a mental health day. Sometimes you're like, okay, so you need a mental health day today? There's like, we got working on a project. So I get it. And like part of me is like, okay, how do we make sure we pick deadlines and we start them early enough that if anyone needs a mental health day, like it doesn't fuck the deadline, so it's like the onus on me as a person who wants to be thoughtful of what if someone gets sick? What if this changes? Like I've got a person on my team I know wants to have a kid. So we're talking about things the next year. And I'm like, that person might be pregnant. So like if she's pregnant, how are we going to do that thing? Just in case, like I want to like think through. And that requires sometimes a bigger team or longer timelines. So I do get as a business owner how that could be frustrating. I do not get like not wanting to think about it at all. Like I feel like that is like, you're just not going to have a team who cares. They're going to be there.
Girl.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear some of the stories I've heard. The level of dispassionateness, I'm sure I'm not saying dispassion. Maybe that's the right way to say it. The level of dispassion is shocking. Not to me, but in general, they absolutely exist. I just spoke to someone not long ago who, when I said, "Oh, you're a leader and you're in such an amazing position of visibility and influence to influence these conversations." And again, it can't just be leaders; it has to be people from any tenure position, because we're all chronologically aged adults. The first thing they said, and they have over 100 people reporting to them. When I said, "Oh, well, you're in such a great position. How cool is that?" And they said, "Well, you just have to be really careful and dot your T, dot your I's and cross your T's," because immediately went to the liability lens. And I was like, man, yes, of course, that's a concern. Yes, these things can go south, but you're just not ready. You don't want to. If that's the first place that your mind goes, or maybe you messed that up in the past and it went poorly, so now you're off of that sauce forever. And you unfortunately can't assume, and makes me sad.
Yeah, it makes me sad because I like wish that their first thing was like, "Hey, I want it to be that, but here's what I'm worried about, or here's what happened. Like, how do I because like it's not like it's been smooth sailing for like everyone's gonna make mistakes, especially when it comes to like." Especially when it actually does come to talk about mental health, because at the same time, as the person listening, you have your own, I have my own mental health stuff, but so then you're like, okay, now I'm going to take on your thing. Okay. Noted. Got it. Okay. Got to figure this out. But I think that's why I like your suggestion on how to talk about it, because if someone came to me with like, here's what's bothering me, here's how I'm going, here's what I want to happen. Even if I'm having not so great a mental health day, I can go, okay, cool. Let me take that. Let me think about it. Let me think of what I can do.
Right.
It doesn't feel like I'm being vomited up onto, and then I've got to figure your shit out plus my shit out.
Oh, I have lost track even after leaving clinical 10 years ago, when the number of people who go, "Blah!" And my first question is, what would you like me to do with this information?
Mm-hmm.
Or, how can I best help you? And they start glitching because they didn't think of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All they did was, I just need to get this out. And I go, well, great. But now what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm all about that good old fashioned vent. But, even if you're going to do that, tell someone I need to vent, and then you know how to take the information.
Yeah. I think there's just, it's almost like awareness. We all need a little self-awareness around or a lot.
Some emotional intelligence.
Yeah. On like, what is it that you need? And so, I mean, like with my husband always wants to fix things, right? When I tell him what's going on, he'll like, he'll often say like, what do you want with this information? I'm like, okay, you're right. So now I just say, I don't want you to fix this. I just need to be fucking pissed off about this right now. It'd be really great if you just like got pissed off with me. Like, just
I have the same conversation
be mad
with mine.
at them with me.
Oh.
Because but I had to learn that, because if you don't say those things, then they try to fix you, like, I don't want you to fix it. Like, and then they're just confused. They don't know. And that's not just husbands. That's like everyone in your life, people. So like, preface what it is. It's a vent. I would like to talk about solutions.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what I want. Like, there's just different things. Yeah. Okay, we could talk forever. But you brought up Radical Candor, and I think that's a great time for us to chat about, like, you met the author of Radical Candor.
I did. I had no chill, and she was so cool about it. I can't remember if I told you this story.
You get to tell me again, because I want you to, want you to share it. Because so we're going to talk a little bit about your like big girl business badass pants, like at South by Southwest, and like what happened. But like, this story just makes me smile. So it's a very be it till see it moment, guys. Here it is.
So I call Kim Scott the queen of feedback. And I just love her Radical Candor model. That was, her first book. Her second book that just came out is called Radical Respect. I'm like 60 pages in, and I kept like, my neck was hurting because I was nodding so much as I was reading it.
I am behind on the times. I need to go get this book.
It just came. It just came out like a week ago. Okay. Like a week ago. I got an advanced reader copy at South by Southwest.
Oh, I'll check you out.
So, well, she had a book signing. It wasn't just me. Okay. I would love to say that. But so speaking at South by Southwest in March, and I had my keynote, and I was going to do my book signing later that day. And I saw that Kim Scott was there, and I was like, oh my God. And so I unfortunately had to miss her session, but I saw she had a book signing like an hour before mine. And so I got in line, and I was the first person in line, and I had her book in my hands, and I went up to the table, and just like in Wayne's World, I had no chill and started moving my arms up and down and going, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. And I just was ridiculous. And she was so cool about it. And she was so sweet. And she signed my book. And we took a picture together, me and her book. And I had like the biggest shit-eating grin on my face. And I told her about what I do for work. And she's like, and I was doing my sign in an hour. And I said, it would be the honor of my career if I could give you a copy of my book. You can totally say no, but I would kick myself if I didn't ask. And she said, yes, I would love a copy. Will you sign it? And I was like, oh, yes, Kim Scott, I will give you a copy of my book and sign it. And I was telling her how I use Radical Candor a ton in my work around mental health at work. And she said, oh, you should come on my podcast. And I was like, for real? She said, yeah, go talk to my manager. He's over there. So I'm currently scheduled to be on her podcast later this year. And I'm just shitting a brick with like fear and excitement and sparkles, like all at the same time.
Oh,
because she's like Yeah.
I don't even remember when I read Radical Candor, but I read it many years ago. Because I feel like it's been out for a while, but there's those years of the pandemic that just all blur together. So it's been out, and I bought it because I had an assistant and my husband, and we had one other person on the team. I'm like, I think I need to learn how to do this. I need to learn how to talk to my team because I don't know. And I love her examples in that book. So I'm so excited for you. This is the coolest thing. And I love it because first of all, I love that you actually let yourself do that because I think that is actually really cool and probably why you got to even talk to her as long as you did. Do you know what I mean? Like if you had just been like,
I flipped out like a child.
I love your book, like if you had just been like, and I have a book, it wouldn't have been as genuine. Like you're so genuine.
Thanks, girl.
Yeah.
I actually have to give credit where credit is due. My intern, who she did such an amazing job. I'm going to be hiring her in a freelance capacity to do some other stuff for me. She's amazing. She flew in all the way from Germany to support me at South by Southwest. And she ended up being like my assistant handler. Like, what do you need? Like whenever I was talking to people, like she had a copy of my book in her purse. I didn't tell her to do that. And when I was talking to this former NFL player and I mentioned the book, she just popped out from my 3:00 and was like, here's a copy. And I was like, oh my God.
You have new SOPs for all new speaking gigs, by the way, new standard procedures.
She's the one who encouraged me to offer a copy of my book to Kim. And I was like, no, I'm sure tons of people are going to do that. Like, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to seem opportunistic. And she said, you're not, because just be yourself.
Yeah.
Just be yourself and offer it to her how you would do it to anybody else. And I was like, okay. So it was because of my intern who encouraged me to do it that I did it.
I love that you had someone there to help you. I think we all, so just to talk about this, you were at South by Southwest, you spoke there, you presented, and yes, she came out to support you, but we all need to actually admit that it's actually okay for people to support us. And it's so good to have someone there, whether it is an intern or someone that you can say, hey, I just need you to be here because there's a lot that goes on at events if you're not just an attendee, if you're also speaking at them or you're also presenting or something, it can be very difficult to keep it all. You can kind of get I'm in my head until my presentation, I got to do these things. And you can get a little linear. Having someone who can be outside looking in and spotting things and reminding you of things. It's so important to have those people. When my husband comes with me to events, they are always the best events because when I go off to Poland to speak by myself, I come back and I'm like, so there's 3 people I was supposed to talk to about. I don't know that I actually did it. Did I do that? It's a whirlwind. And so it's easy to forget things. And so to have someone there is so key.
Oh yeah. Having her change the entire experience for me. And every day, multiple times a day, she goes, how can I support you? What do you need? How can I be helpful? There was even a moment because I was kicking myself for doing this. Talk about a mental health panic. I was flying from Austin to Vegas because then I spoke at a HR conference called Transform, which is where you and I got to hang out.
Yeah.
And so not at the conference, but in Vegas.
Yeah, you guys,
and
the listeners did not think I was at a HR conference.
No. So basically, I was looking at my flight from Austin to Vegas. And I don't remember what happened because I think I got it was heavily delayed or something like that. And I said, let me see if I can find a different flight. In my stupidity, I booked a flight for the next day, the wrong day. And then I tried to reverse it and my seat was gone in under a minute. And I was panicking. And so she had just come to my room from her hotel and I was like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. And she goes, what can I do to help? We're going to get this worked out. Just tell me. And I was like, I'm so happy you're here. And so she helped me, and she like was doing other research. It all worked out fine. But being a business of one, and now I'm at a business of like 5 or 6, and just remembering that, like I even opened up to, so I realize you and I have talked about this before. I feel I have the best assistant on the fucking planet.
Yeah.
And I opened up to her the other day about some personal struggles I'm having and some other stuff that's going on. And she was so sweet, and she listened to me, and she, had a wonderful conversation. And she texted me actually later that night and said, "I'm really happy we had a productive call, but I'm even more appreciative that you told me about the stuff that's going on. And like, my heart goes out to you, and I hope you're okay." And I was like, oh my God, I love this person. It's good to ask for help. It doesn't matter like how much of a badass, you try to be, everybody needs support. And I'm a huge, huge believer that it's a wonderful opportunity for people to support their boss.
Yeah.
Managers support their team members, but I feel that's a two-way street. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I think like, especially when it comes to you guys for assistants, if you have one, like I told my executive assistant, I'm like, your job is going to have some things that are my personal life and some things that are business life. And so you're going to know more about me than the project manager does or anyone else on the team aside from my husband, because there's just going to be things that I'm going to need help on so that I can do my job the best. And that was so hard for me to learn. My first assistant had been an assistant for a long, long time. So she trained me on what an assistant can do.
Mine's training me.
Yeah.
She's training me. 100%.
Totally training me, like totally trained me. And she was so good at it. I was like, can you do this? Can you do this? And she's like, it's my job. So you don't have to ask me if I can. Just, you actually can say, hey, here are the things I'd like you to do. And here's when I'd like them to be done by.
Conversation with mine. Oh my God. I literally sometimes have on my calendar, I'm not joking, I'll have like blocks where it says do tasks for, her name is Alana.
Yeah.
And I go, do tasks for Alana. And I told her, I was like, I put my homework on my calendar to do my stuff for you. And she's like, you're ridiculous.
I want to say, like, since you went from a business of one and then now it's grown. And you obviously, like, your whole thing is like talking mental health at work. Mm-hmm. How has that, what's the be it till you see it you've been doing to help yourself, like, be the leader that you truly believe other people can be? Like, cause I mean, like, what it is that you want to be. Like, was it so easy to step into those shoes, or did you find yourself taking your own homework?
Oh my God. Being so hard. And I think that the best thing that I've been able to do as I've been adding different folks to the team. Now, keep in mind, these folks are not full-time. It's a team of contractors, but they are my team. And I feel that what helped me transition best into that is admitting how novice I was. Mm-hmm. And basically saying, like, listen, I need to learn how to do this right. And so I'm going to do the best that I think. But if there's anything I could do differently, I could do better, because I know they're coming from a good place. And so I always say, like, please tell me what will help our relationship, what will help you succeed, etc. And so for me, it was admitting how novice I truly was, and in some ways still am, and how open to feedback that I want to be, because I had some terrible managers in my career, and that would be like a nightmare if I did something like that. And so, yeah, that's it. Admitting that I don't know how to do it all, but that I'm trying to learn how to do it, a little bit better, a little bit more each day.
I love that. That is awesome. I'm excited for you. You're going to be able to do so many more things, just so you know, because, like, it's not easy to do it all yourself. There's, like, a lot of stuff. And by the way, like, there's a lot of stuff that's actually exhausting to do when you don't need to be the one that does it. So
Oh my God. I remember when I first started out with my assistant that it was really because my business is my baby and I work so hard and I'm very detail oriented and it was really hard to find someone to trust.
Mm-hmm.
And they understood that, they were like, okay, let's start with these low hanging fruit. We'll see how that goes. Let's ease into it. And she really understood. And initially, because oh my God, she is like amazing at the things I'm terrible at. So like process implementation, data management, all these like business core one-on-one setup things. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. So she initially was so patient with me because I fought it kicking and screaming because I did everything like very manual. And now I'm like, oh my God, what can you take from me and how do we do that? Because it's so nice to not have to worry and just have that complete trust in someone that she genuinely gives a shit.
Yeah.
And that is so hard to find.
Yeah. And also when you start to like let go of the things that actually take up more brain space because it's not natural for you, then you actually can spend more time doing the things that do come natural and do light you up and are why you like doing it, which means you have more energy and excitement and more ideas and you can go, you can go further because you've got people to help you.
Exactly. So I'm in that scaling mode now. And I'm not going to lie, it's scary. It's tough. But I also know I need to. And my husband, probably maybe a year ago or something, a little bit less, he had a come to Jesus conversation with me and was like, you cannot continue doing everything yourself. You have to start finding people that can take stuff off your plate and that you can trust. And this is not negotiable. And I was like, oh, fine. And it was the best lecture I didn't want and needed. So,
I'm glad he did that because it meant you had this event at South by Southwest. Because if you had, you know what I mean? You wouldn't have had that. It wouldn't have happened.
The best part is when I have calls with my assistant and my husband walks in and he goes, what are you talking about? And then Alana goes, we're talking about blah, blah. And so my husband's name is Matt. And she'll go, we're talking about blah, blah. And he goes, oh, fucking finally. He goes, I'm happy she's listening to you. So I have to feel like they're ganging up against me. I was like, man, it's the two of them.
Matt's going to start sending her Slack messages like, hey, by the way, there's these other 3 things that she brought those up. We got to put these on the timeline.
God, when they hear this episode, don't give them ideas. Don't give them ideas.
I will say, I wanted a Vespa in LA because like I wanted a little Vespa and you can just get a Vespa, right? You don't have to get a motorcycle license because they ride like a bike. But my husband's like, no, if you're in a Vespa in LA, you have to get a motorcycle license. And I was like, okay, I'll go. So my assistant books me the motorcycle license school thing, whatever it is. And I did everything perfect written test. Every day of the practice was really great until the test, which of course, test anxiety. Of course, this happened to me. All the people crash the whole time. They're crashing all the time. We get to the test. They don't crash at all. And instead, when we get to the braking thing, I broke too soon. So they wanted me to do it again. And so when I did it again, my tire, I broke a little too hard on the back tire and it hit a little wet spot on paint on the parking lot. And of course, motorcycle crashes, I'm on the ground and I fail the test, right? So, my assistant was like, I'm so sorry, like that happened. Brad wants me to reschedule. And I said, oh, we're not rescheduling. We're just not going to get the Vespa. I'm just not getting the Vespa. I'm going to get an e-bike. He can't make me take a test for that.
Oh my God.
And so like, there would be this movement like, hey, when is this getting rescheduled? And Lindsay's like, oh, I'm looking into seeing when Leslie's schedule can handle it. I'm like, we're still not doing it.
Oh my God.
So they can gang up on you, but you can't work it out.
No, but it comes from a place of love and care,
It does.
And there's different things that when we're doing it, and she'll even say to me, she's like, I know this is difficult for you. You need to remember what we're going for. Mm-hmm. And she's so patient with me. And she teaches me stuff like all the time. And I really see her like as an advisor in addition to being, my online business manager, my assistant. Like she's like a trusted advisor for me.
Well, it sounds like, especially as like, whatever she's doing evolves, Sounds like she'd be a really great integrator and like could be the person who's your right hand who can then run people on the team so you don't have to, you know?
Yes.
That's what I'm sorry, I'm helping you grow.
We might have had that conversation literally a few days ago.
That's huge.
Yeah. And so I think that, you know, she just like lives and breathes ops and like she just
thank God for those people. If you breathe ops, you guys, you can work for anybody who's got big dreams. I promise you.
She's amazing and she's smart as a whip and she's funny. And I deeply care about her on a personal level. And, you know, I feel deeply appreciative that she puts up with me.
But I also just like a testament to the work that you do and the work that you put out there, because it does attract people who want to work with that and who want to be part of the vision. Like the impact that you're making is really huge. And you can't make a big impact by yourself. You have to have people that see your vision. But because of who you are and how you've been putting yourself out there in the way that you have been unapologetically and really voicing why we have to talk about mental health, there are people who want to be part of that impact. And so you have to like celebrate yourself a little bit.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So we're going to take a brief break and then we're going to get those beit action items and also the Chewbacca impersonation. All right, Mel, where can people find you, follow you, work with you, get your book?
So my website is melissadoman.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Melissa Doman on LinkedIn. On Instagram, my handle is @thewanderingmel, one word. And my book is available across all major online retailers. Amazon's the best place to get it. But if you don't want to feed the Bezos machine, it's also available, you know, at Target and Barnes and Nobles and all that. And, you know, if you feel like you need me to come in and crack some heads, no pun intended, to enable mental health at work conversations in your business, please reach out. I would love to help.
Thank you. Okay. You've given us a lot. You gave us like some great tips on how to talk about things, but bold, executable, intrinsic target steps people can take to be it till they see it. What do you have for us?
When it comes to mental health at work, awareness is great. Action is better. And I think that when it comes to changing what conversations look like, it's one thing to have the intention to do it. And it's another thing to create the impact. So decide how you're going to speak differently about your mental health at work or how you want to support others in a different way. Because, you know, you may not be able to make a big dent, but any dent is helpful.
Yeah. I like that. I think, I mean, we talk about at the beginning, in case you guys fast forward through the intro, because you've heard it so many times, I do say action brings clarity. So like,
yes,
you know, it really does. And so I think like, yes, talk about it and then like take action and you'll understand more and more. You'll have more clarity around what to do next about the impact you want to make.
There is a reason that my tagline on my website that I trademarked is awareness is great, action is better. And I have to give credit again where credit is due. My husband works in product marketing and technology evangelism, and he's helped me so much with helping to shape my message. And I always tell people I have a crush on my CMO. I pay him with respect in my company. No, he's amazing. He's so amazing at what he does. He does product marketing and technology evangelism for a Salesforce partner company. And I'm very deeply proud of him.
That's amazing. That's what you guys are a dynamic duo.
We try to be.
Yeah.
Try to be.
Okay. Can you do the Chewbacca voice for us?
Oh God.
Because yes. I know I have Star Wars fans, especially my husband's going to listen to this, but also hi, Katie and Rachel. And
okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That did not get too loud at all. They'll love it. And it was beautiful.
Oh my God. I literally do that like as a reward to workshop participants. Like if they're really engaged and not distracted by tech and they're like really present, really, really doing the workshops with me, I dangle that as the carrot at the beginning. And I go, if you're good, if you participate, blah, 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 I will reward you all with this at the end.
Oh my God.
I withhold it. I withhold it if they don't.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing with us. And also because hello, Be It Babe, you were a good listener. You made it all the way to the end. So thank you so much. Mel, you are the best. I just adore you. I'm so glad we got to finally meet in person. I got to have you back on the pod to talk about what you've been up to, because I think it's really important for people to see someone can have like publish a book and like make magic happen in their business and actually get those big, huge gets. And then also they keep going. And there's new moments of not just imposter syndrome, but like going outside of your comfort zone and doing big things that scare you and then getting other big opportunities. So I cannot wait for your episode to come out with Kim Scott, because we'll all be listening to it.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much. I'm so happy we got to meet in person. And,
yes.
To come back on the pod and, I just really deeply appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, y'all, how are you going to use these tips in your life? Are you going to read her book? Are you going to help talk about mental health at work? Because you should. And please share this with a friend. If you have a friend who's like either a leader or a person at a company who needs this, this is how we get the word out there. And the more people who talk about this stuff, the more companies actually have to talk about these things, because there's power in the workforce, really being empowered and knowing what they want to talk about and how they want to be treated. So please share this so we can spread Mel's amazing word. And until next time, be it till you see it. That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day. Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network. If you want to leave us a message or a question that we might read on another episode, you can text us at +1 310 905 5534 or send a DM on Instagram at BeItPod.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell.
It is transcribed, produced, and edited by the Epic team at Diseño.co.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals.
Also to Angelina Herrico for adding all of our content to our website. And finally, to Meredith Root for keeping us all on point and on time.